When was the first time you remember listening to metal music?
Oh, that was probably depends a bit what you define as metal music. I was a big fan of Rage Against the Machine when I was a kid. So that's kind of metal, at least closely linked to it. I was mainly listening to whatever was on the hit lists, but I chose like the kind of more badass stuff like Rage Against the Machine, Prodigy, and also I remember Sepultura had one song. I kind of instantly liked it from the beginning. I never had like anything against metal in that sense. Like I remember also I had a cassette that I borrowed from my sister of Survivor. I don't know if that counts as metal. It's more glam, I guess.
You grew up in a very musical family. Did they play a role in the moment you switched from just being a fan to becoming a musician and eventually a vocalist?
Yeah, definitely. I always dreamt of performing, and I remember like it's something I always really wanted to do. But like my mother was a classical vocal coach. At that time, that was not cool at all for me. I didn't like classical music then. I like it now, but I didn't back then. Like music to me was something I had to do, kind of like my mother told me that I had to choose an instrument, and I chose trumpet. So I played that for like 7 years. Just did it because I had to. It was kind of like doing the homework. It was not much joy in it for me. But then later on, when I became a teenager, like 15, started in the first band, and then I started just singing with no training yet. It was kind of actually my sister and Vegard Ishan, her husband, they were kind of tutors in like the local youth club for different bands, and just like, hey, you want to sing in this song? Like we were one of those bands though, so we kind of started there. So definitely that like they had a big role in, maybe I would have found that path anyway at some point, but you never know. So yeah, started playing like covers of like grunge and punk rock, because that was the only thing we managed to play that, like so Nirvana and Sex Pistols, and also Rage Against the Machine, actually. I also Radiohead, which I'm still a big fan of. Started with that, and then eventually I started taking lessons from my mother in singing. That then kind of my level dropped a lot, because then all this natural way of doing it disappears in the beginning. It's like learning a new technique in anything makes you insanely stiff when you do it in the beginning. So like my vibrato was like so over the top. It was like completely exaggerated. Everything I did was a bit too much in a way, like so I just needed to get it into like my muscle memory, and then I could start expressing again. But it took a long time to kind of really get it under my skin and the technique. And
what vocalists and bands were your references when you started singing?
One of my biggest things as a teenager was actually like 90s gangster rap. That was kind of what was my genre. And a lot of people get surprised by it because it's so far from what we do with Leprous, but it's still something that I always had very close to heart. Like I was like a hip-hop guy, you know, like that's more than a rocker. Even like I was like wearing super baggy pants and break dancing and like listening to hip-hop. And there was a big crossover there with metal, of course, like, and especially like the new metal and stuff like, and of course when bands like Limp Bizkit came, it was just like everything I loved in one band back then. And then people at some point started hating Limp Bizkit, but now when I listen back to it now, it's actually, yeah, they actually have a lot of cool stuff. So that was like I kind of came from hip-hop and rap, but then suddenly at some point I completely fell in love with like more extreme metal and got very into that for a while, like black metal in particular, I guess influenced by family members, and I got like, I was super into that. And then a bit later on I got super into like 70s prog rock, because we had a band member in Leprous back then. I was so into that, and and then I started getting super into like King Crimson and those kind of 70s bands. But then I got tired of that at some point as well. So like most things in my life, I kind of like it, and then I move on at some point. And there are some constant things, but like I don't really do genres anymore in that sense. Like I just listen to whatever I like, and yeah.
Your vocal range is very impressive, going from falsettos to growling. How long did it take to find the correct technique to sing clean and harsh vocals?
I'm a bit like that as a person, that I try to see every situation without limitations in that sense. So if there is something I cannot do, I will figure out the way to do it. If it's something that I want, and it's kind of my general outlook in life. I'm a kind of solution-oriented type that like always try to find a way to do what I want to do. And pretty early on, I realized, okay, like I'm not actually a tenor. I'm more like a baritone with a range as a vocalist, according to my mother at least. And so you can hear now, like, yeah, I don't have a deep voice, but I don't have a super high pitch voice when I speak either. It's kind of normal. But I realized early on that like I remember when I was a kid, I was singing, or like even like a youth, I was singing along to all like the female songs at home. It just was kind of easy for me. I just thought that that's something everyone could do. It was a natural way for me to sing from the beginning, kind of, but to get that transition between chest voice to head voice, that took me a lot of work. As for the screaming, it's never been a major part of Leprous or of anything that I do. It's something that I use as an effect here and there. But for some reason, like in the metal scene, it's such an identity thing that people is so like obsessed with that, like screaming, not screaming, and just like, and I think it was a bit the same with me with long hair when I was younger. Like I saw it as a betrayal if someone cut their hair, you know, like I would have hated how I look now when I was younger. So it's just like such a strong identity thing. The screaming and long hair is like, to me, it's not like a big deal. Like screaming, I scream whenever I find it necessary for the song, and that's it. So screaming, I relearned that in 2015, because before that I had like a terrible technique, like really ruined my voice a lot. It was just basically shouting as loud as I could and breaking up my voice basically. And now it's not really loud at all. It's like, but it sounds bigger, so it's not. So I found a way to do it. So, but yeah, screaming is not a major part of our sound. Never really has been. And people are saying like, oh, back in the congregation, like when you had all this screaming, or just like, it was 30 seconds of screaming in total on the whole album. That's it, you know. It was not that much. So it was never a big part. It's an effect we use sometimes.
What was the vocal experience like when you were recording your very first songs in the studio?
A bit mixed. It took me quite a bit of time to build a bridge between the live performance and the studio performance, and I feel like I was better live than in the studio somehow, because I didn't manage to kind of, or maybe I just thought that I was better because nobody recorded me, but that was probably more likely, honestly. And then I got the harsh reality whenever I got into the studio. I think it's a mix. Maybe I thought I was better than I was live, and then, but also it is a kind of a new experience to sing in the studio. So the first time I did it just like on our demos, but the first time we kind of did it professionally for our first album, I listen to it now and I can hear that I had room for improvement, to say it like that. So yeah.
What kind of memories do you have when it comes to the first tour you ever did? How was it for your voice?
Oh, I don't think that one was super challenging for my voice because we played 30 minutes. But it was an incredible experience. It was the best thing I ever did in my life, was at that point, was that tour. And of course, it cost us a lot of money. So we were actually going out to support Therion. which is really thinking about it now. And we were really prog back then. And I don't think we appealed to more than like 5% of their fan base or something, but because we were so all over the place back then. But it was an amazing experience for us, and we loved every second of that tour. And the second one was with the Finnish band Amorphis. Toured with them for, I think it was 7 weeks, like 4 weeks first and then 3 weeks a few months later. And that was also incredible. They treated us so well. It was a better musical match as well. So yeah, those 2 tours, they were kind of our first 2 tours we ever did. So amazing experiences for us. And I probably enjoyed those tours more than I enjoyed the tours we do now, because now it's kind of, the excitement has kind of gone a bit out of it. I still love it, but more like, yeah, this is what I do and what I love, not in this childlike excitement that I used to have on the earlier ones.
Besides being a vocalist, you're also a keyboardist since you started your career. And I feel that sometimes an instrument is like a shield when a musician is performing. Was it hard for you to move from behind the keys and develop your own stage presence, just being the frontman?
I had already done most of that job before I skipped it entirely. So it was a kind of a gradual process. I left more and more the keyboard gradually, like especially from Pitfalls and onwards. I was starting to just like, because there is like quite, like that album has not as much guitars as usual, so we kind of the guitarist started playing keys, and suddenly I started moving around a lot more. So I think once I dropped it almost entirely, I needed 2-3 shows to adjust, and it was like, I had always done it anyway. Like, yeah, I don't miss it for 1 second, because if I want, I'll just go behind and play. And quite often I go behind and do some like semi-improvised things before some songs, especially if it's like a club show, headliner show, because then we have kind of the time and the audience is there only for us in that sense, so we can allow ourselves to be a bit more impulsive with these kind of things. And so yeah, but I would say that's glorification to even call me a keyboardist, because in my opinion I'm not very great at it. It's like I'm good at making it sound like I can play keys well whenever there is no click. So just like play some like arpeggio stuff, and like if I got the click on it would like fall off completely. And I'm good at improvising a vibe and a mood, but that's pretty much it. I don't have good technical skills in keys, so I don't miss it. Having that as a big part of it, I feel our show in general is way better now than that I can properly be a frontman.
In the beginning of Leprous, you weren't the main lyricist, which changed since the release of Pitfalls in 2019, when you became the main writer. Was this process of starting to write more lyrics and singing more about what you feel important for you?
It was very important, and I think like for me to write in the beginning, it was insanely difficult, because I kind of thought that I need to be an author, and that was never a dream of mine to be an author. Like I wanted to be a musician, I wanted to make music. I didn't care about writing like lyrics and text. Like it was not a passion of mine, not anything that I was interested in. If it was, I would have gone into that direction instead of music. So like when I wrote my first lyrics in Coal, on the Coal album, was on the Cloak, I think. For me, it was like, oh, this is it's so hard. I spend so much time and it's really difficult. I didn't have the confidence for it. And at some point, I just realized that, oh, I think I've kind of gone about this in the wrong way. I've been trying to portray something. I've been trying to show something that I'm not. And at that moment, I just realized, oh, I can kind of just write more straightforward, exactly about the situation, or about something that I felt or I feel, or something that has taken up a lot of my mental capacity during those days that I was writing it, or like so. And then it became so easy. Because and people started instantly relating more to it as well. So the moment that I stopped trying so hard to be something, then it went a lot easier. And of course, experience helps. So yeah, I will always put the music on top in my situation because I feel I'm better at that. But at least whatever I tell, whatever story I tell, it's true from my perspective. So it's like, and humans are more universal than we like to think in terms of a lot of things. So a lot of the things that I write, a lot of people can relate to it, especially from Pitfalls. I was writing a lot about anxiety and a lot about that subject, and anxiety is insanely universal. Like it is extremely universal, and it has different triggers for different people, but how it works is exactly the same. So now I have no idea what to write about because my life is amazing at the moment. So I don't have anything more to write about.
For many years, you were a music teacher. Do you feel that this empathetic process of teaching helped you further develop your sensitivity as an artist?
I guess so. I was always quite sensitive in general. Like I'm a very sensitive person. And like a mix between very soft and very hard, depending on the situation, I think, and which can be confusing for some people. But to me, to deal with other people as a teacher, I'm very soft with everyone. Like probably a bit too much. Like when you're there face to face with someone else, and you kind of feel like what's behind, like there is like that they have, like to me, like I feel 50% of my lessons is psychology. Because singing is so much psychology. Like singing psychology is super underrated. Because to be a good singer, you need some sort of confidence, and to gain that confidence, you need to find an approach that is more less destructive. You know, like the so I spend a lot of time with people, like just listening, and like we can go even 2 lessons sometimes without singing, just preparing for the fact that soon we will maybe start singing, because and other people don't have any shame whatsoever, and they just start singing even before so people are different, so like there are different things that I need to but I feel like I've worked a lot with people over the years. Also I worked with the autistic people for like 10 years almost, like before. So until I could live from Leprous, that's what I worked with on the side. So I'm very used to adjusting to different situations and different people, I guess. And sometimes I guess I adjust a bit too much because I kind of have that in me from childhood.
You have released many albums in your career. Are there any albums you can point to where you see yourself making big steps forward as vocalist?
Malina. Some people would probably say that I took big steps backwards, depending on their taste, but it really depends what people like. But for me, there are a whole like new level of nuances that was added to it that people who are vocalists themselves can notice, I think, at least. And I managed to better master quiet vocals, very quiet vocals, which is actually super hard. Because to sing quiet is harder until you get a grip of it, though, but than to sing loud, because when you sing loud you kind of go all the power, but when you sing quiet it's so fragile that it's hard to control it. So that album, I guess, I think also there was a good step from Bilateral to Cole and Congregation. They were a bit close in time, so to speak. So of course there was also like but also Pitfalls. I think Pitfalls is by far the album when I spent most time perfecting the vocals, because there is no dubs on the big choruses or anything. There is no overdubs on like, so I'm just like on the big choruses like Below or Alleviate. It's just one vocal, and like to get it how I wanted it. And it's like because when you like most bands these days, they dub every track a lot of times, both and we didn't really do that with Pitfalls, barely, even not with the guitars almost. So like it's a very kind of
organic.
Yeah, it's very organic in that sense. But now it's just like I mix it a bit. Like sometimes I go with the full 20 voices on top of each other, or just one. I like kind of to go a bit in the extremes, in either to make it into kind of a big choir or just strip it to one. Like, so I don't know, like I feel my vocals are developing gradually, but I think also Malina was the first one where when I really like went into an amazing studio and spent a lot of time in that studio for vocals only. So yeah, I spent a lot more time there than I'd ever done before on kind of perfecting it, or I wouldn't say perfecting because I don't think perfection exists in music, but at least like searching and finding whatever I wanted to find. So yeah, I think Malina, Pitfalls, those two maybe I would mention. Yeah.
The newest album from Leprous, Melodies from Atonement, was released last year, and 2 years ago your first solo album 16 came out. Is there anything new that you tried vocally on those 2 records?
Yes. On and it's kind of on like on the Melodies of Atonement album. There is one song that is like the by far least played song on the album. We kind of knew it would be, but it's still an important album track. It's called Self-Satisfied Lullaby, and the whole track is kind of a bit ambient, and the whole thing goes with like a big choir that sings through almost the entire song, which is new for me, and it took 3 times as long to record as any other song because of the amount of layers that was on the song. So that was a kind of a new approach, but I try new things all the time, but with sometimes with luck, sometimes without luck. But it's like there is a limit to how many things you can try without it sounding forced as well. So kind of it's to me it's important to mix, to balance what is my style and what is my sound, but at the same time never forgetting to search for new things. So like, yeah, that's a balance.
So you have a gig very soon tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a warm-up routine before the show?
Yeah, I do, but that's not the important warm-up. The important warm-up starts weeks before the shows, because that's like, imagine if you're going to run a marathon for the first time and just like, oh, but at least I warmed up for 10 minutes before the marathon. And it's just like, yeah, that's going to help you maybe for 10 minutes, and then you need to have a stamina. And that's what a lot of singers forget, that like you need to build that stamina as a singer, and that's way more important than warm-up right before the show. I do both. So I typically sing through the entire set for ideally 2-3 weeks every second day. Like I give like a 48-hour restitution. And when I have long sets, I feel around like 60% into the set, I start declining in how much air I manage to distribute, and it gets weaker and weaker and less controlled, and then gradually that gets better and better and better for each time. And whenever I reach come to the first show, I'm where I should be already. But at the same time, so then I warm up my voice like normal warm up. There is like, I don't have anything special. It's just basically about gradually. It's like warming up your muscles with other things. Like there is thousands of warm-up exercises at the gym, same as a singer. Like all of them works as long as you gradually increase the intensity on everything you do, the range and intensity and volume. Start very quiet and then go more and more and more, and then end around where your maximum is going to be, and then then you tested everything. So that's can be like, ideally, if my voice is fine, like today, I will probably do 15 minutes. If my voice is not okay, I will do like 40 minutes, depending like on if I have a cold or not. So yeah, that's kind of it. And then I stay in shape. I was out running today. Here we go to the gym. All of us in the band now. I think finally everyone started. So we're a quite healthy band in that sense. Like we think long term. We plan on doing this for a while. That being said, like there has been exceptions that has lived very long. There the Rolling Stones guy is still alive, right?
Are there any foods or drinks that you'd like to avoid before the show that you feel
No.
affect your voice?
That's the typical whiny vocalist syndrome. Like, it's all bullshit. Like, you can eat whatever you want. And it's like, of course, like, yeah, as mentioned in general, being healthy, but what is like, too many vocalists are overthinkers, and they put way too much pressure on the situation, and actually end up, by being so careful, they end up hurting the show much more than they would have done if they were just relaxed. Because if you then go, okay, I've done everything, and they try to control everything they can, and then they go on stage super tense, hoping everything will go fine, and then just relax, be more chill about everything, and think more about what you can do with whatever shape your voice is in that day, instead of measuring a bad voice that you have that day up to like how it can be ideally on a very good day. You just like play with the cards you're dealt and stay chill is basically the most important thing. What you eat, of course, like, yeah, if you eat a big burger and fries right before you go on stage, you will probably maybe have like a bit of a heartburn or something. That doesn't affect my voice, at least. I heard that it affects some people's voice, apparently, but I think a lot of it is in your head. People are looking for problems, and then they will find it. As long as what you search for, you will find it. Comes from a former hypochondriac who used to be a big hypochondriac some years ago. Not at all anymore. So just staying chill is the best advice I can give, and not put too much pressure on the situation. Do whatever you want to do, eat whatever you want to eat. Like, of course, if you're only eating crap, then you will gain weight and get poor stamina, but it's not like, it's more in a big picture, not like one situation, what you eat right before you go on stage that day doesn't really affect it that much. Like, same like any physical activity, I guess. Like, if you eat they're called the good kind of carbs, not the, like, I don't remember, we call them in Norwegian, we call it slow and fast carbs, but it's called something else in English, which I don't remember. But like oats and those kind of things, they are like the good type, and then you have like pasta and bread and that kind of stuff. It gives you a peak and then drops. So all that kind of stuff. Honestly, I don't think a second about it before I go on stage. In general, we eat what we can get at the festival. Like today, I'm a vegetarian. I've been a vegetarian since 2008 or something. So I don't eat meat. So our options are usually kind of limited anyway. Whenever we go touring, so I eat whatever is available and stay in shape and try to avoid too much sugar.
You said that your mother was your teacher.
Yeah.
But what was the reaction when your parents realized you were singing in a metal band?
I was always very open-minded. So my mother is, she only listens to stuff that I'm in, basically. Like, it's literally the only thing she listens to. It's kind of like, oh, can you put on something else? Like, I don't want to listen to this. Like, I enjoy listening to our stuff like until the moment it gets released, and then I'm done. Because it's exciting to make me new music, and when you listen to it, but my mother, she has always been super open-minded and supportive, and like, and I think like it used to be a kind of a dangerous genre for like back in the days, but not in my generation, not for the millennials. I think like at that point people were already used to that, you know, like I think, yeah, Black Sabbath came out with their first album when my mother was like 20 or something, so she had heard hard music before, so it's not like it was something new. I think for the previous like for the generation before that, it was more like shocking. But for my mother and also my father when he was alive, my father was kind of like not a metal fan, but more like a kind of a hard rock. Like he was a big fan of CC Top, so he was constantly listening to CC Top. In his opinion, he was listening to insanely hard rock. Like, my favorite music is like hard, like rock hard as bone. That's what he said, I remember.
So, Einar, would you like to say something to a young metal vocalist who's just starting their journey?
Yes, stop whining, stop thinking that tea helps, stop wearing a scarf to make everyone feel sorry for you when you're sick, and start taking life more as, take it easy, like have fun, and think in skillful ways how you can get better instead of destructive ways, and you will get it. So we vocalists have a whiny nature, so first, and that's kind of part of our job description, to whine a bit, but don't bring that to to your job every day. Like if you focus too much on the negative, it will affect your performance a lot. So yeah, stop feeling sorry for yourself, and stop trying to become the center of attention on every single tour with your teacup and scarf, and that's it.